There has been a public outcry in Uganda about the sale of organ and tissues from unwilling donors. And according to the media reports, there have been vulnerable domestic workers who have lost their kidneys and other organs and have also been forced into unnecessary operations. The Uganda Human Organ Donation and Transplant Bill 2021 has established a legal framework for organ sale and tissue transplant in Uganda in order to cater for challenges in healthcare and illegal organ trade. You are welcome yet to another episode of the Health Code. I'm your host, Hope Nyongereza, and we are at the Mulago National Referral Hospital with a doctor here who's going to give us more about organ transplants. You are welcome to the show, doctor.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Frank Asimwe Rwabinda. I'm a consultant urologist and transplant surgeon based here in the Mulago National Referral Hospital, which also doubles as Mulago National Specialized Hospital. And I'm glad to be here to talk about transplant. It's one of my pet subjects, and I'm willing to share with you as much as I know.
Thank you so much, doctor. Indeed, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So we have heard these terms, organ, transplants, donations. So we just wanted to give us a better understanding about the organs, donation, transplantation, and harvesting organs. If you can just fill us up. Okay,
the body is like a building. A building has got building blocks. So the absolute smallest building block is a cell. It's the one you can compare to a brick. You can replicate that one. Of course, there are ordinary cells and there are specialized cells, but the cell is the most basic of the building blocks. Those building blocks are organized in what we call tissues. That's the next layer. A group of cells which perform the same function, then they become tissues. Then different tissues which again perform an organ, perform a similar function, are grouped together to form an organ which becomes a visible solid, or it could be fluid, part of the body. Now, these organs, they perform specific duties. For instance, a kidney, its work is to filter the waste products from the body. Yes. The heart, its work is to pump blood around the whole body. Yes. The liver, the pancreas, the cornea, and so on and so forth. So there are different organs. So those are the organs of the body. There are very many. Yes. Now, organs do fail, either because of disease or because of injury, or sometimes because of age. They fail. Now, in the olden days, if your organ failed, that was the end of you. You basically wait for your time. Yes. But science has advanced that if an organ is discovered to have failed, initially it can be managed to recover. You can manage it to recover its functions. For instance, the kidney. Once you get kidney failure, it's in two stages. There's acute kidney failure, which we now call acute kidney injury. And then there's chronic kidney failure. Then there's what we call end-stage kidney failure. So acute kidney failure is potentially reversible. Identify the cause, take away the offending organisms or substance, and then the function returns. Chronic kidney failure, also potentially reversible. It takes a bit of time, but potentially can be reversed. But when you have got end-stage kidney failure, it means that kidney can no longer perform its functions. So this organ now in the current era can now be replaced with another organ, another kidney for that matter. And science has advanced such that we can get a new organ from an individual, put it in this person, and then the functions return. Of course, between failure, end-stage failure, and transplant, now we've got, in the area of kidney failure, we've got what we call dialysis. That is all called replacement therapy. Dialysis basically means the blood will be taken out, literally washed, filtered, and returned. But anyone who has got end-stage kidney failure eventually will need an organ. So that's how that's where the science has reached.
So that takes us to a transplant.
That takes us to transplant. So a transplant is where you get an organ from one donor to the recipient. The donor must be healthy or at least the organs in that donor should be healthy, and then the recipient has got an organ which is failing. So you remove a healthy organ for purposes of therapy. You put it in the body of a person who has got a failed organ. That is transplant. The other question was harvest. So the process of removing the organ from the donor is called harvest.
Okay.
And you can harvest and store, or you can harvest and transplant. We'll get into the nitty-gritties of that, but there are those two possibilities. Harvest, store, then eventually transplant. The ultimate end of harvesting should be to transplant. There are some organs, but mostly tissues and cells, which can be stored before they're transplanted. But most organs, when harvested, should be transplanted within a certain time range, which we'll talk about.
Okay. So, Dr. Frank, you talked about a patient, one needs to be healthy in order to donate an organ.
Yes.
What are the qualifications for someone to be able to donate an organ to a recipient, to another patient?
Number one, you must be willing. Two, you must not be selling, or you must not be forced, or you should not be exchanging it for money.
Yes.
And those are very, very important. You must be willing. So you must do it out of love and care for the person who is going to receive. That is the most important underlying.
Yes.
Then there should be no exchange of money. You should not give your organs so that you get a favor,
Yes.
commercial or otherwise. Then you must be healthy, and you must be assessed. So you must assess and confirm that you can do without that organ. And not all organs can be donated when someone is still alive. There are some organs which can be harvested and transplanted. So like the kidney, which are two, you can donate one kidney. Pretty much that's it. There are a few others we can talk about. But then there are those which, if you give, that's the end of you, like the heart. If you donate the heart, you are finished. If you donate the lungs, you are finished. If you donate the pancreas, you are finished. That is why, as we talk a little bit later, we talk about the living donor program. Then we talk about the cadaveric program. Yes, the liver, you can donate the liver, but not the whole liver. In liver transplant, we donate a segment of the liver, and you remain with a big chunk. The donor remains with a big chunk, and then this slice which is put in the recipient has a capability of growing. So you must be willing, no commercial entities. Then you should be assessed to find that you can survive without that extra organ or with that organ. Then you must also be healthy. You must not have a transmittable disease. Basics: malaria, HIV, syphilis, cytomegalovirus, any disease which can go to the recipient. We'll talk a bit more about that.
Is it at that current time you should be healthy? Because I can have malaria this week, and next week I'm actually going to donate my kidney.
Yeah, we know these diseases are treatable. So treatable diseases should be out of your system. The untreatable diseases like HIV, but we'll talk about the HIV later, because science has gone very far, but we'll build up this slowly. So treatable diseases like malaria should be treated. Treatable diseases like syphilis should be treated. And then you should be disease-free, so that you don't give that disease to the recipient. Then also there is what we call the anatomy, the structure of the organ you're going to give. It should be such that it is normal. You cannot give an abnormal organ. It may be working for you because you were born like that, but it has got some abnormalities. Now, then they are assessed further for those abnormalities. So suffice to say, the willingness, the health, but must also be screened for many, many diseases before that organ is removed and transplanted. So quickly I will underscore that that's why these stories of they have knocked him and removed his organ are not sustainable. Because remember, there's a recipient somewhere. And if that recipient is probably paying a lot of money, they would want to get a good product. So you knock this person on the road, you don't know what he had, what he smoked, or what he drank, and you rush that organ into this person. Not very sustainable, but we'll probably talk more about that.
Okay, so besides health, does sex and age also matter?
Yes, gender not so much. Gender doesn't matter that much for the organs. Age matters. Of course, the starting point is the age of consent. You must be able to consent, so we don't go for organs.
And what is that age of consent?
Of course, that is legal. We are not reinventing anything. That is legal. Every country has got its legal bottom line. In Uganda, it is 18.
Okay.
You must be 18 and above. In the law which we've just put together, we have also included the aspect of between 18 and 21. Because most adults who are above 18, but still under 21, are still under some degree of parental care. So this 19-year-old, 21-year-old can consent, but the parent should be aware, should give an okay. Now, above 21, you can just go donate your kidney if you are willing, and then you tell your dad, oh, by the way, I've just donated my kidney. Yes. So that's the bottom line, 18. Then we prefer to have a donor not older than 45 years. Okay. Because beyond 45, you probably need all your organs in your body up and running. Beyond 45 years, you have probably begun picking up some lifestyle diseases, hypertension, diabetes, you know, cholesterol is high. So you might think you are healthy, but the organ you're giving is not quite healthy, so it may not be useful. But that's it's not very strict. We can move that dial a little bit, because if you have got a child who needs an organ, maybe 20, 40, and a parent who is 50 and is willing to donate, and they are healthy, they've ticked all the boxes, with the exception of the one of age, that can be okayed. But strictly 18 to 45. Yes. Okay,
so doctor, you've told us about the different organs. What are the types of organ transplants, and which one is the most common, especially here in Uganda?
Okay, suffice to say that in Uganda we are not yet transplanting. There's no transplant going on. But if you go through the organs that can be transplanted, there are about 11. If you go from top to bottom, the two corneas, not the eyes, the corneas. The cornea is that glassy thing on your eye that can be transplanted. So two corneas. Okay. The heart, the lungs, the liver, the pancreas, the bone marrow, intestines, skin, all those can be transplanted. Okay. Yes.
So here in Uganda, we haven't started.
We haven't started. The one which is commonest, which we are going to start with, and in most countries that's what they start with, is kidney transplant. It's the one which usually starts, because you've got very many of them. The need is usually much higher, and that is. And once you have a kidney transplant program going on, then the other programs are easy to piggy ride on that kidney transplant program, and that's what we'll start with.
Okay. How many people how many people need these transplants here in Uganda? Because you see very many people going to India for transplants.
Yes.
Can you give us some statistics?
Like I said, everyone who has got end-stage kidney disease needs a transplant. So by looking at the people with end-stage kidney disease, that will give you an estimate. Here in Mulago, we've got 25 dialysis machines. They can do 3 sessions per day. Okay. So technically you can do 75 people. But in our statistics, we've got just over 100 people who come for dialysis. Shirudu has got more machines, so they have a number of about 150. Those are already 250. Mbarara, they do dialysis. A few hospitals in town do dialysis. So we've got anything between 300 and 250 persons who are end-stage kidney failure that require transplants. However, not everyone who has got end-stage definitely needs or should be transplanted. There are also some cutoffs. One, you give them an organ. If there are other organs that have failed, you probably may have wasted that organ, that kidney, for instance. They may have heart disease, they may be diabetic, they may be, and their diabetes may be advanced, their heart disease may be so advanced, so they may be unfit otherwise. And you find that even if you give them a kidney, their heart needs to be sorted out. Their diabetes needs, maybe they've got cancer. So not everyone with end-stage kidney disease qualifies. The cutoff for recipients is also at 65 years. Okay. Again, that number can move a little bit. But generally speaking, beyond 65 years, the thinking is, of course, if you say how much life do you have, that may look a bit unfair. But you would say, is it fair for me to remove a kidney from a 25-year-old, put it in a 67 or 70-year-old? Is that really fair? Has this person lived their life and we're not disadvantaging this person. So generally speaking, the cutoff is around 65. So anyone with end-stage kidney disease above 65 usually doesn't qualify. With multiple diseases, usually doesn't qualify. With HIV, but we go slow on that one because science has gone around that. So there are some exclusions.
Okay. Yes. There you have it. You have gotten to understand organs, transplantation, donation, and the harvesting of organs. We are going for a short commercial break, but keep it CTV for our next segment.